Well, good morning and welcome to a wonderful Christmas day to all our Winning Ways show fans and everyone that's involved in horse racing. And I thought it would be a right to produce and record some of my thoughts as to far as the report card for horse racing in South Africa is concerned for the year. Because it is nearly 2020 and we all live in hope. But I think that some of these things should be said, and I think we can say them quite correctly and clearly. And let's start with the negatives, and there are a lot of negatives, but the main perpetrators of a negative, the National Horse Racing Authority. The way they handled the Muzieni case was less than desirable and certainly ended up in a lot of frustration and on behalf of a lot of people in horse racing. They lost samples, which has happened the year before as well. The stud book is a complete mess. You try and check up on horses that were bred in 2018, 2019, and nothing's up to date. And their high fees is a result of the lack of news, positivity, investigation into Lyndon Barnes, the past chief executive, who apparently had many misdemeanors in his tenure and certainly did us no favors in the way the new shining light was portrayed when he came into power in doing horse racing any good. So he would be on top of the list of investigations, I would have thought, from the NHRA's side if they were showing transparency and they wanted to get the job done. And certainly the way the fees have been hiked up in the last couple of years is not really fair on everyone who's struggling in this industry. We then move on to Phumelela. And obviously Phumelela's a great demise was their share price and the fall of their share price from during the year. It's been an absolute disaster. How can we lose that type of money? Then added to that was the Kimberley debacle and all types of other problems that Phumelela have got themselves embroiled in, including grooms' wages, which has got absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with them. But basically, when a company loses a share price from 20 odd rand down to 2 rand, you've got to have a very good look at yourselves, and you cannot pat yourselves on the back and tell yourselves how wonderful you've done under trying times. You've actually done a disastrous job. Teletrack, well, there's nothing but problems there. They seem to have lost the fact that actually Teletrack is a South African racing channel, and South African racing should be the main focus point of their whole television output every single day. I believe, and I think there are a lot that believe with me, that the 6 hours of racing in South Africa should be dedicated much more to South African racing than it is to overseas racing. And the rest of the time you can put on as much overseas racing as possible. But grow your tote pools, grow your pools by putting on a good product, having good people doing a job. And there are many good people in Teletrack that work their hardest and try their hardest. And unfortunately, they're stifled by a real bad bunch of managers. We then move on to the SAFTOT, and the SAFTOT, there have been lots of problems with payouts. There have been problems with payouts that look like they're going to be higher than they are when it comes to time of paying out. The fluctuations in prices during the running of races in South Africa is of major concern, and surely there should be a financial audit on them. And that they scrapped rolling doubles and the pick three and then reinstated them shows exactly how badly they understand their business and their clients. And then racing, it's a rush. Well, it's not a rush, it's a rubbish. Racing It's a Rush has done absolutely nothing for horse racing in South Africa. And I believe they can say whatever they like, that they've spent fortunes bringing no one to the racecourse and certainly not bringing new blood into racing. There are very, very few new people in racing because of Racing It's a Rush. And they seem to favor certain stables as far as tweets that they put up, and other stables get absolutely nothing. It's just a mess and should be scrapped and reinvent it. Let's go on to the good things of racing. And there's some very good things, because I'm going to start with Turf Talk. I think it's a wonderful newspaper. It's very well edited. It's funny. It's got wonderful topics. They're good writers, good people working for it. And if racing would take it a little more seriously and listen to what is being said by some of the scribes, I think it would be better for all of us. Milan du Toit, what can you say about him? He's one of the shining lights of 2019. And I think since he's had something to do with the starts have been much better run. They seem to be more organized. Milan du Toit, you deserve a big thumbs up as a single person in the horse racing industry, not only for what you've done with Hawam, but with everything else as well. The export bunch with Adrian Todd at the top, I think they've done a marvelous job to be able to get us an audit. Well, let's see what happens in 2020. But congratulations on what you've done so far. You've been certainly worked at the grindstone as hard as possible to get us where we are. And hopefully we will be able to start exporting horses in the near future. But unfortunately, I do believe there are a number of stumbles to come. But well done on the work and expertise you put into this, certainly with the South African government. Sporting Post, I've got to mention them because they are still the definitive newspaper in racing. Anyone and everyone who's interested in racing reads Sporting Post. They have wonderful articles. They have great content, and I certainly enjoy reading it every single week. And the Sporting Post Digest, and they are a real shining light in South African racing. Gold Circle. Well, you've got to take your hat off to them. They pulled on Hollywood Bets. I'm not sure whether the purist would like what's happened, because Hollywood Bets are purveyors of the open bet. And obviously a lot of that money that they've made has come out of the open bet. But they have put their money back in. They've branded the Gold Circle racecourses. And on top of that, the Grooms Initiative and all their other initiatives are great. But really, we've got to go back to the handicapping system, whereby the top weight is the top weight and not the top weight, the number one draw. It makes it extremely difficult to study, and people like to be able to study. Barrier trials, they keep rolling, and we'll still try and make sure that they become countrywide, and there's a big move afoot to try and get that all done. And then Vintage South African Racing, the Facebook site put up by Charles Baker, and the book that he's put on, really are a shining light for South African racing. And it just shows you there are people out there who are real fans and really love South African racing and do a lot of good work for absolutely no return, monetary return at all, compared to a lot of people who do a lot of bad work for a huge monetary return. You know you are, and hopefully 2020 will bring out the best in South African racing. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I look forward to continuing putting up our daily previews of race meetings and doing the best that we can for this industry that we love. A happy Christmas and a wonderful New Year to all the participants in South African horse racing. You do make it special, and I'm glad to be part of it.